Oh, good morning. Happy Friday. Today is October 19th, 2018. Can you believe that? October 19th already? That's crazy. How are you doing? You guys look great. Hope you've had a good week. Just checking my sound real quick. Okay, today I might be stepping in it. But I do want to talk about Star Trek. I want to geek out today, all right? I got my Constellation hat on from James. Excited to give the green screen a break today. I also haven't taken a shower or anything like that because it's Friday, and we're just going to slide into Friday. Does that sound good to you? Great. Star Trek. I was not a Star Trek fan when I was growing up. Not because I didn't like it, just because I just never encountered it. So I didn't watch any Star Trek episodes of any kind until I was an adult. And I want to make it clear, this is not a Star Trek versus Star Wars battle. There seems to be two camps. I don't know why you have to choose one over the other, but I do want to make the distinction that Star Trek, from what I understand, Star Trek presents itself as a science fiction thing, right? I'm losing my words today. Star Wars doesn't as much. And what I mean by that is that in Star Wars, they don't make any attempt to, I was going to say they don't make any scientific attempt to explain the Force, but then they kind of screwed that up in the first 3 episodes. But anyway, my point is that that's more fantasy, happens in space. But Star Trek, leans heavily on science for its plot constructions and the whole universe that it's built there. So I like that. But that causes some problems because for someone who understands science, if you mess it up, it can get distracting and confusing. And I know I am in the midst of writing a fantasy / science fiction novel. And I know how hard it is. There are some challenges, especially when you're trying to write about things that happen in space. So let me just jump into some of these questions. I was going to call them issues, but I'm going to call them questions that I have. The first 2 would be true for any science fiction story that involves interplanetary or interstellar travel. There's a fly in my office, sorry. If I look like I'm ducking, that's why. And that is distance and time. The galaxy is vast. It is so huge that even if you could travel the speed of light, which you can't, it would take hundreds of thousands of millions of years to get from one place to the other. Okay? Now, let's assume that you can travel faster than light. That doesn't mean that the time doesn't. You don't travel faster than time. Actually, you kind of do. If you travel faster than light, then you also fly faster than time, which means that you're going to have this problem that even though it took you a week to get there, 20 years have gone by on Earth or wherever, at Starfleet headquarters, 20 years have gone by, even though you went to warp whatever and got there in a week. So that's a problem, which would be true with any, like I said, any stories involving time and space. So I'm looking forward to a story that accounts for that. Actually, I read a book called Children of Time that does a good job of accounting for that. All right, so let's give that one a pass because I know that one's a difficult one for everyone. The second one is also a consistent issue I have across the board, and that's languages. If you think about how many different languages there are on Earth alone, and how many of them you speak and understand, that's just on one planet. Yet we visit these planets and they all speak the same language, and they all look the same. We don't look the same. So that's a thing. Hi, Ken. Yes, I have read the Ender's Game series. I like that. It's been a while since I've read the book, and I saw the movie, which, hi, Carl. Yeah, that is a good series, and I should do a whole one about that too. Good idea. Okay, so back to Star Trek specifically. In Star Trek, they have invented this universal translator to account for all of the language problems. So apparently the universal translator... Now, I have not really gotten into the original Star Trek. I should put that out there. I tried. It's just I just can't. I tried watching some of the best ones, but they're just so cheesy. I just can't do it. But I've seen the rest of them more than once. And so this universal translator, from what I understand, by the next generation, it's implanted in their heads or something. And so it just automatically converts whatever language you're hearing into something you can understand. And somehow when you talk, it also changes the sound of what you say so that other people can understand you. Am I getting that right? Is that how the universal translator works? Because that sounds like a really complicated device. And there are, I think, there are a lot of inconsistencies with how it works as well. So, for instance, I was excited to watch Star Trek Enterprise, because that was trying out all the stuff that, they weren't sure if it really worked. They were scared of the transporter, and they were still working out the language issue. And I thought, oh, finally, we're going to have a series that deals with this language barrier. But then they just kind of, it's a problem when it's a problem, but unless it's a problem, it's not. So that's disappointing. Then we come... Oh, yeah. Ken, exactly. Yeah. So, I think it would be interesting. What if the Star Trek universe took that into account? Can you imagine how politics would change? If you're sent out on a mission, but you're asleep for 20 years or whatever, and you wake up and is the mission still valid? See, I think that would be just add a whole other dimension of reality. Of course, it would be really complicated and to write. Okay, so this language universal translator thing. Excuse me. I'm trying to go with it, right? But then why do I hear Klingon? I hear Klingon all the time. People say, Kabla! Well, if the universal translator is in effect, then when they say that, shouldn't I here in English, whatever that means. And DS9 is just ripe with this. And it's unfortunate because DS9, that's a really interesting canvas upon which to explore all of these language and cultural things. And I felt like they just miss it because everybody just speaks English, or they seem to, because the universal translator is somewhere. I don't know. Is it in the walls? Is it in their heads? Does everyone have one? Is it implanted on birth? I need someone to give me a little bit more information about the universal translator. The next thing is warp drive. How fast is warp? It seems to change because I understand that the warp scale is logarithmic. So, going from warp 1 to warp 2, that's a power of 10 times faster. Okay. I'm with you on that. But in Star Trek Voyager, they get thrown to the other side of the galaxy, and it's going to take them 70,000 years to get home. So this is where we come back to the time thing. No matter how, they're 70,000 years away at the speed of light. No matter how fast they get home, there's still that much time is going to pass. So, but assuming that's not the case, there's still an inconsistency on how fast this is, because they will get, if you look at what they say their top speed is and how long it's going to take them to travel this far, and then suddenly there's a situation that is like 2 light years away, but it's going to take them a week to get there. Why? That doesn't make sense. So I wish they were at least consistent on that. Seems like they could just decide on a scale and just, make it up, right? But be consistent. And then my last thing is probably my favorite. The holodeck. What the everlasting hell with the holodeck? Okay. I would never go in the holodeck because that thing always breaks. Always breaks. And you would think that after the first time the holodeck took over the ship, they would shut that thing down until they could, do something about that. No, they got engineering in there fixing it. It'll be up and running the next day, so you can go to your favorite, pool hall in Paris or whatever. Yeah. And then especially in Star Trek Voyager, where they are under such resource restrictions, the holodeck, they've said on more than one of these shows and on more than one occasion that the holodeck uses a lot of power. We can divert power from the holodeck systems, right? Why are they using it at all on Voyager? Shut that thing down. Turn it into another aeroponics bay. Holodeck? Really? I wonder how many chocolate cakes could you replicate for 30 minutes in the holodeck? I just wonder. So that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I do enjoy the shows, in spite of those little gripes. I do wish that they would pay more attention, though. Even still, I must acknowledge the influence that Star Trek has had on science. We see things in Star Trek now are reality and beyond. It's also funny to see, which is the one, well, they all kind of do this, where they have the, take a hollow image for me, and it's like the size of a toaster, Oh, hold on, sorry. My That was weird. My phone is on Do Not Disturb, so I don't know why it rang just now. Okay. All right, well, that's my thoughts on Star Trek. In brief, that's some of them. Those are some of the most pressing, the ones that keep me up at night. I'm kidding. They don't keep me up at night. But if you have any insight into that, if there are answers to these, if I'm just misunderstanding, fill me in, because I want to know. I don't want to be the guy who didn't get it, Help me out. But if it's just something that just doesn't make sense and we're just supposed to pretend that it is, I'm cool with that too. Happy Friday. This has been a fun week for broadcast, except for whatever day that train wreck was, which was, I think, Tuesday, yeah. That's omission bias about the holodeck, though, because they don't show all the times that the holodeck works. Is that what you mean? Because I can go with that. I'm not saying I did say it always breaks down. Yeah, you're right. Okay, but still, if it takes over the ship, or it starts killing people, then, I don't know. The safety protocols seem to be turned off quite easily. But no, I get you. You're right. Okay, so not so hard on the holodeck. And it does give us a good way to get off the ship without having to have a real reason to find a planet, which, if you just keep going, you'll run into a planet eventually in the vastness of space. Oh, that reminded me of a couple of other things. Not actually really just one thing. They use some terminology. They do this particularly with the Borg. The Borg. That's oh my gosh, I'm sounding like I'm from Texas now. 7 of 9, who of course is fabulous. But, she talks about galaxy cluster this and blah, blah, blah. But it seems like they're all within the same galaxy. But some of the terms that they use for objects they encounter make it sound like they've gone to another galaxy. So that's confusing. But that's, I'm getting picky now. I just like it when she does her little eyebrow thing. All right, I'm done. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And I will chat you later. Bye.